Hey guys, it's Primoz. I just wanted to share a quick video with you guys today of a successful pitch that I've had for growthlab.com. And I just wanted to guide you through my thought process and how I wrote my pitch. So this is the submission form for GrowthLab. It's the contributor's guide. Basically has all the details that you need to craft a really good pitch. Basically defines, what is GrowthLab, who's the target audience, why it's worth your time, what kind of content they have, and so on and so on and so on. So let's start at the beginning. My basic idea was 36,000 product launch. I even made a typo here in the title, but I basically just said guest post idea for GrowthLab. This product launch with Zero to Launch, which is one of the online products that GrowthLab pretty much sells. So I started my pitch, and let's close this if we can. I don't know if we can. Doesn't matter. But I started the pitch. I was like, hey, Sean. So basically got his email address here below in the contributors guide. I said, it's Primoz. I used to work with IWT as an accelerator coach manager and left the company in December. I don't think we ever got to chat, but it's nice to meet you. So just a short introduction because I was working at the same company. So I wanted to reference that, of course, to get credibility. And probably, this person has heard of me before. Now, just in case they've never heard of me before, which is unlikely, but just in case, I said, in case you don't know much about me, here is my case study from the course, here's my website, and here's one of my latest posts in the community from one of GrowthLab's products, Zero to Launch. So basically, I linked to the case study for Zero to Launch where I was featured, so they could always watch my video or something like that. Also linked to my website to show them, what it's all about. And then I linked to one of my posts that I wrote, which is a really long, detailed, and generally a really good post on a very similar topic that got a lot of likes and a ton of comments. So it basically shows, that I can write good stuff and, just gives me a lot of credibility. Then after I give my short introduction and, even in the guide, I think they say something like, let's see. Yeah, they say also share why you have the authority to write about this topic. So this is pretty much what I'm doing here, right? I'm showing them that, hey, I'm a good writer. People like my stuff. I have the authority and so on and so on, basically gaining all the credibility that I need. Then I go into, so I had this product launch of, this online course in March. And I already touched on it briefly in the post that I just shared earlier, which got a really good response. So basically, they know that already whatever I'm going to write is going to get the good response from their audience. And I also said that, I really wanted to write an epic post about all the details or lessons from the launch and publish it on GrowthLab because I think the audience would love it. And then, as I reviewed this contributors guide, I reviewed, it's worth my time. Of course, I know it's worth my time. I know the audience because I know GrowthLab. I follow it for years. I know the tone because I've read some of the articles from GrowthLab. I didn't really, worry about that kind of stuff because I know I can write really good stuff and I already shared the writing sample. But then, I paid attention to these two different sections. So the first one is what I'm looking for, stuff that helps start and grow an online business. Okay, my product launch does help you start an online business. So they have a couple of different categories here. The first one is real talk about starting a business, hard stuff nobody talks about, and so on and so on. There are some examples that I looked over as well. So that's like, okay, I can write really vulnerable stories, so I'm going to mention that in my pitch. Then they said, okay, technical information and case studies, peel back the numbers of some of the success you had. What did you do and how did you get here? Like this. So again, I checked out the post, which I'll show you in just a second. And then they say how to find a product market fit. I wasn't really interested in that, so kind of skipped it. And whatever you're excited about. Okay, that's kind of vague, but I am excited about whatever I want to write about. Then there's article formats, short technical articles of 1,200 words. I just can't write stuff like that, so I didn't even worry about talking about that or pitching that. But what really did get my attention is, these deep, all-encompassing breakdowns. Take your reader from start to finish on a massive project, like product launches. So this is pretty much perfect. And they say, okay, these are 2,000 words up to 7,000 words, and they love this. Interviews with industry experts, not relevant to me right now. Personal essays, also not relevant. Other stuff, I didn't really worry about it. These were the two things that really got my attention. So it's real talk about starting a business and then deep, all-encompassing breakdowns. Now, one more thing that I did before I actually went and wrote the pitch is I checked out all the examples. And these examples, I think, I mean, I've seen these articles before. It's just like, some really vulnerable stuff, some photos, things like that. And then, yeah, like these are the lessons and so on. I don't really worry about reviewing this that much because I know I can write in a good vulnerable voice and share stories that other people wouldn't be willing to share. But I did want to look over this article, which was the example of a technical information case study or something like that. That's what was interesting to me, because that's what would be, very similar to what I would end up writing. So I checked out the post. So the title is exactly how I self-published my book, sold a lot of copies and nearly doubled my revenue. I was like, okay. And I looked over the post, and the thing that caught my attention here was this little table of contents. I love writing tables of contents for my own posts because they're usually really long and really, detailed. That's when I was like, oh, okay, this is what I can use to, create my own table of contents that I can pitch to the editor. Then I just looked over the whole article. I skimmed through it a little bit. I checked like, okay, so they have a lot of photos, lots of details, lots of, really specific tips and so on and so on. Lots of, screenshots, lots of really technical advice, actionable things that they can implement. And basically I knew that I already could write stuff like this. So I was like, okay, this is perfect for me. But what I really wanted to take away from it is, this table of contents. So I looked over this, looked into, which style it was written in. And it said like, okay, the New York publisher, big name agent and a misery, don't go at it alone, how to assemble a kick-ass team, invest more upfront. So these are kind of like, a little bit of copywritten headlines / things that would be interesting to people. So I was like, okay, I can put something like this together. Now let's go to my actual pitch and see how I, implemented all these things that I was just talking about in my actual pitch that I wrote. So here's I said like, okay, I want to write about this stuff. And then I said, since I can't write short stuff, that means I don't want to write, a 1,000-word article. That's just not interested to me. I said, directly basically reference to the thing from the guide. I said the best fit would probably be a 7K word, deep encompassing brain dump. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I said like filled with screenshots, revenue data, and all the other relevant stuff, because I knew that that's what would make it interesting for them. And that's what I'm good at doing anyway. So I said like it would probably be a case study, and I linked to that article that we were just looking at. And I also said like spring with real talk about starting a business. I'm basically just copy and pasting the words that they're using in their submission. So I'm saying like, hey, I've read your stuff, I know what I'm doing. And, these are some examples. It's not like they're going to probably open them. But I think the important thing here is, I'm cool with sharing the good and the bad parts, which I think is something that's pretty rare. Because it is a huge success, but there's also things that went, wrong along the way. So I think it's going to be a good piece. So if you like the idea, we can flesh out the idea via call, but here's a sample of what it will look like. So in the submission, they said, in terms of next steps, if you're into it, send me an email with a few ideas, just the title and 2 to 3 bullet points of the argument you're making that it's a good start. Also share why you're the authority, and if it's a good fit, we'll hop on the phone to work out a single story we both like and assign a format and a deadline. If we move fast, we can get this published. So I was like, okay, they basically just want to get on the phone as the next step, so I'm going to reference that, and I'm going to send them a couple of bullets. So that's what I did here. So I said like, okay, we can flesh out the idea of over a call, but here's a sample of what it would look like. So I did 2 things when it comes to actually talking about my article. First thing is I kept in mind that little table of contents that I've seen here, and I wanted to create something similar, written in a similar style, but of course in my own way. So I just came up on the spot, with the basic title. It's like how I went from an idea to this product launch in 3 months, which I thought was pretty catchy. And we can always tweak it later. It doesn't really matter. But then I just shared some of the bullets because I knew this was going to be a pretty long post. I just wanted to give them a feeling of what the table of contents would look like. So it's things like the single business decision that helped me go from an idea to a 5-figure launch in 3 months, how I knew my product would sell before I ever launched it, how a random conversation in a penthouse in Cancun helped me find the perfect title for my online course. So basically just some copy added to all of these headlines that I was writing, right? So I left it at that. And then I also said, because these are headlines, and I mean, they might be great for table of contents, but it doesn't really tell the editor what exactly I would be talking about in the post. So I wanted to share those details as well. So that's what I said, well, that's how the table of contents would look like. Practically, I'll talk about the research for the product idea, how I validated it, came up with a title, engaged my audience, and so on and so on and so on. And also what I did after the product launch to get my students really excited for the course. So I basically said, in plain English language, these are the things that I would be writing about. And I already said it would be filled with screenshots, revenue data, or whatever, all those things. And I just said, hey, if you like the idea, let me know. We'll find a time to chat, because that's what I assumed would be the next steps. And if not, just let me know as well, and I'll send you some other ideas. And then I got a little bit cocky and I said, but I think based on this, post that I've made, people will really like this one. Now, I got a response, I think, a day later, which was pretty much on Friday. And they obviously knew me from before. And they said, nice to meet you. And then, well, as much as my crank editor brain doesn't want to admit it, this is about the most comprehensive and complete speech I've ever seen, which is also the reason why I'm sharing this with you guys in the first place. Because if he said it's a good pitch, then it probably is a good pitch. So basically he said, he just wants me to run with this, spill my heart all over the page. He doesn't care if it's, 10,000 words, which means he's speaking my language, because it's probably going to be more than 7,000 words. And he said, that we can always trim it and narrow it down. So he had also some requests, numbers, charts, screenshots. Okay, that's easy. Reel with us, where are the holes? Absolutely. And then most importantly, always keep in mind, does this help someone who was in my shoes? Write a post that you wish Primoz of 3 months ago had actually written or read. So yeah, and then they're like, okay, sounds good. Would love a draft by the end of next week. And then if you get stuck, we can jump on a call and we can talk it out. And that here's here to help me nail this. So yeah, this is pretty much it. Kind of cool that we got to skip the actual call. So I guess it really is a good job, and I'll be able to just get this thing written over the next week or so. Should probably reply to this email as well. That should be good practice. But I just got it over the weekend, and I try not to work too much, even though I'm recording this on a Sunday afternoon. But yeah, I wanted to share this with you guys. If you have any questions about my pitch, just let me know, in the comments below. And that's it. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys soon.